Every mystery leaves a trail. Every trail hides a secret. Welcome to the Mystery Threshold.
Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are unpacking one of the most absolutely baffling, intricately layered mysteries of the entire 20th century, the 1966 lead masks case. This is one of those unsolved puzzles that just perfectly blends bizarre artifacts, secret homemade experiments, and a total labyrinth of conflicting theories. So let's start with the men at the center of this whole thing. We've got Miguel José Viana on the left and Manuel Pereira de Cruz on the right. They lived in Campos dos Goitacazes in Brazil, and by all accounts, they were highly regarded electronics technicians and TV repairmen. These were skilled professionals, guys who had taken advanced electronics courses. But on August 17, 1966, they embarked on a really mysterious journey that they would never, ever return from. Section 1. The discovery on Vintem Hill, a chilling scene. Picture this. It's 3 days after they leave home, the afternoon of August 20, 1966. A young boy is flying a kite up on the really steep, muddy terrain of Vintem Hill in Nitroy, and he stumbles upon a truly chilling scene. When the police finally make it up there, what they find is literally just bizarre. Miguel and Manuel were dead, lying side by side on a bed of carefully cut palm leaves. They were dressed in formal suits, which they wore underneath waterproof raincoats. But the most shocking part, they were both wearing heavy, homemade masks made of pure lead. They were shaped kind of like sunglasses, but with absolutely no eye holes. Beside them lay wet towels, an empty water bottle, and a small notebook. There were no signs of a struggle, no obvious trauma, nothing like that. But the absolute most baffling piece of evidence was this cryptic little note found right in Miguel's pockets. It has almost no punctuation, which makes the exact instructions super ambiguous. Like, did it mean ingest capsules after the effect, or ingest capsules, and then after the effect, protect metals? Whatever the grammar is supposed to be, this note clearly points to a highly orchestrated, precisely timed event happening right on that remote hilltop. Moving on to Section 2, the journey to Nitroy, their final day. So how exactly do two well-respected tech guys end up dead on a muddy hill wearing lead masks? We really have to trace their timeline here. Their afternoon on August 17th moved at just a frantic pace. They arrived in Nitroy by bus in the rain, carrying a massive sum of cash, and they immediately started running errands. They hit an electronics store, then quickly bought matching raincoats at a plastics shop, where, by the way, witnesses said they seemed super agitated. Then they grab a bottle of mineral water at a local bar. The waitress there noted that Miguel was nervously checking his watch over and over again. From there, they headed straight up the steep terrain of Vintem Hill. Now, here is a tiny, easily overlooked detail that is absolutely crucial: the water bottle receipt. Despite being in this massive hurry, Miguel and Manuel explicitly asked the bartender for a receipt for their mineral water and tucked it away. Why? So they could claim a tiny 200 crucero refund when they returned the empty bottle later. I mean, think about it. That deeply contradicts the whole idea that they were planning a suicide or some one-way trip. They fully intended to walk back down that hill. Which brings us to Section 3, strange preceding events, explosions, and end times. You see, this fatal afternoon, it definitely wasn't a spontaneous decision. It was actually the culmination of months of strange, highly secretive experiments. Broadening our scope a bit, just 2 months prior, in June 1966, the men, along with a friend of theirs named Elcio, triggered a massive homemade explosion on Atafona Beach. This blast was huge. It lit up the sky with a blinding ball of fire, shook the houses nearby, interrupted a local movie screening, and left this deep trench in the sand that completely reeked of sulfur. It even drew the attention of Brazilian naval intelligence. And then, just days before their deaths, a neighbor actually catches them in their yard hammering lead pipes to fashion the exact masks they would wear on the hill. When the neighbor asked what on earth they were doing, they gave this completely apocalyptic explanation. They claimed they were building something to prevent the end of the world. So they were clearly deeply immersed in something that blended electronics, homemade engineering, and these really profound cosmic beliefs. Let's look at Section 4, a botched police investigation, the domino effect. With a scene this complex, you'd think scientific analysis would be the top priority, right? Well, earthly incompetence completely derailed the search for the truth. A tragic domino effect of investigative failures started almost immediately. On the day the bodies were brought in, a prominent local detective had been murdered, which completely overwhelmed the coroner's office.
Because of this, Miguel and Manuel's internal organs were literally just left to decay on a shelf. By the time anyone checked, they were totally useless for testing. 0 toxicological tests were performed to see what was in those capsules from the note. A later exhumation was completely ruined because the bodies were pumped with too much formaldehyde. So the actual medical cause of death, it remains a total scientific blank.
Moving to Section 5. Theories, spirits, UFOs, and murder. When you pour all these bizarre clues into the base of our hourglass, investigators were left juggling wildly different theories to explain what happened. We really have to impartially juxtapose the two main camps here. On one side, you have the theory of an esoteric experiment gone wrong, that they were conducting a paranormal ritual, trying to contact spirits or extraterrestrials, and accidentally overdosed on whatever was in those capsules. On the other side, you've got the earthly theory, that they were lured to the hell by someone who just exploited their beliefs to rob and murder them.
The foul play theory is strongly anchored by this massive number. Miguel and Manuel traveled to Niterói carrying 2.3 million cruceros. To put that into perspective, that's equivalent to over $1,000 today. It was a lot of cash to be walking around with. This small fortune actually drew false confessions from imprisoned criminals who were just seeking a deal, and it cast a lot of suspicion on local conmen operating in the parapsychology space.
Take this for instance. A handkerchief embroidered with the initials AMS was found next to the bodies. Neither family had ever seen it before, but it perfectly matched the name of Alexandra Monteiro Silva, a wanted fugitive who went by the alias Professor Ramayana. He was known to host parapsychology experiments right near Vintan Hill, so he was heavily investigated, though honestly, nothing was ever conclusively proven.
This whole case was so perplexing that it wasn't just local cops on the hunt. The federal police, along with the intelligence branches of the Brazilian Army, Navy, and Air Force, all jumped in to investigate. They were genuinely worried that the men's bizarre electronic tests, secret radio codes, and beach explosions posed a real national security threat during a very sensitive era in Brazil's history. But then, on the other side of the coin, the extraterrestrial theory is bolstered by some astonishing local testimonies. A local mother driving near Vintem Hill reported seeing a luminous, hovering object right over the exact spot the men died, at around 7 p.m. on the very night they arrived. She described it as an oval, orange craft with a ring of fire shooting out blue rays.
And that perfectly connects back to a book investigators found heavily annotated in the men's workshop titled Life on Planet Mars. The book actually dictated that Martian spaceships floated above the ground and emitted blinding polarized light that was intense enough to disintegrate objects. If Miguel and Manuel genuinely believed they were going to witness this craft, it brilliantly explains why two perfectly sane electronics technicians would build heavy, pure lead masks with no eye holes to protect their eyes and their metals from the blinding radioactive light of a descending ship.
And then, just when you think you finally have a handle on the evidence, there are clues that just defy all logical explanation. Found at the crime scene was this dirty little slip of paper containing a single word, bonsai. Years later, investigators digging into Miguel's past found a childhood school drawing of his, covered in communist symbols, swastikas, and mystical spirals, with that exact same word, bonsai, written across it. What a childhood drawing has to do with a timed death on a muddy hill 30 years later is just a complete mystery.
The lead masks case remains an absolute masterpiece of the unknown, because all that physical evidence was lost to time and decay. We're really just left to wonder, did Miguel and Manuel transcend this earth during a scientific spiritual experiment, or was their innocent cosmic curiosity fatally exploited by terrestrial monsters waiting for them in the dark? It is a question that has endured for over half a century, and it really challenges us to consider just how far people will go in search of the profound. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you think you know.